Peace.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, one piece. Welcome to another Sabbath after show. In this segment, we are following up Shivia, where he spoke about it was the third installment of the seed of Satan. So we're back at it again. He went into like speaking about different characteristics of a devil and how do you know when there's a devil amongst you, and also being able to question like if you are the devil as well. And he went into the book of Enoch and read more about the angels and Lamech and spoke about Noah. It was really good. I really, I really enjoyed it. I was like, wow, this is deep, deep. I
Yeah,
thought the
yeah.
whole I was like, okay, this one is good as well. Um, for those who may want to join in with us, we do have a link in the chat, so feel free to click on that if you want to add to the build. But we're just building on the seeds of Satan once
Yes,
again.
yes. Peace, Master Menelec. Peace, Master Menelec. One of the things that I thought was interesting that Master spoke about today, but when he pulled from the book of Enoch and he was just sharing the story, to me, it was like prophecy. It was like already explaining like this is what it's gonna be, this is what's gonna come forth. But don't, in a sense, like don't worry because it's not a bad thing, but this is just what it is. And I just thought that was like a key point, because when we talk about like why certain books are extracted from the Helios Biblios, to me, I thought that was like a component because when we talk about those terms, like you said, devil, Satan, um, what's the other one? The devil, the Satan,
Lucifer.
Lucifer. Yes. We don't quite understand them. So I
Yeah.
felt like that kind of gave context to a lot of things, that sometimes we miss for those of us who may have been in church or have gone to church or, have been said like, oh, this is the devil. This is what the devil looks like. But it's like, where did that actually come from? So that was something I thought was great that he started off with.
Yeah, just hearing you share, like I know, like my experience with different, like I'll say mostly Christians. I'll just say that, and sometimes they'll say things like, oh, I rebuke the devil, I rebuke the name," and it's like, but they'll be saying it to those who are speaking truth, and I'm like, how, you
Mhm.
know, evil and demonic that is. It's like it's like you're putting on false, like you're being a deceiver, like a
Mhm.
deceiver, and causing confusion, ignorant. Yeah, I just think about that, like how that's just like that can cause confusion for people who may be speaking the truth and to hear those sort of concepts. And some people do get caught up in it. They're like, no, that's not the truth, and they'll maybe twist the words that they read in the Bible too. So yeah, that's
Mm.
what my mind.
Where you went? I think when
Yeah.
you said like twisting the words, I guess it goes back to like when you're pulling the word apart and actually seeking to like find the truth of what that word actually means. And
Right.
to me, like as you're saying that, I'm thinking about The Truth Shall Make You Free, the podcast that Master did, where he talks about there's a component in all of us that is the devil, there's a component in us that's God, and then there's the truth. And I think about like maybe those individuals have never, or maybe they're seeing the truth, but maybe they haven't accepted both the devil and the God could exist in one. So they're not able to receive that truth. So, I don't know. It's just maybe that's the thought.
Hmm.
Maybe that's the thought. I don't know.
He did mention like in that segment he was saying like um I don't know if it was the devil or the God, so I don't want to confuse it, but he was saying like one will have the mindset of like I already know the truth, so I don't have to learn. So they want to remain
Mm-hmm.
ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I think they just want to party. Well, I know that one was the devil. I just want to party and BS. I don't want to, like
Right. And
one
be
already think they know everything, and the other one like I don't care to know. I don't wanna know that. I just want to, you know. And I remember him saying like one time someone did say like I think he mentioned like a story where he was in a barber shop and someone was like, oh, I don't want to read that. I don't want to go into that because that's going to change me. And they knew like they
heavy
wanted to
D.
be in that place of like I don't want to know something because I already know it's going to change me into something I'm not ready to do right now. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then I thought about like what you said, like there's God, the devil, and then there's you, and that actually kind of ties into my the first point that I jotted down, where it's like, okay, where's the balance, or the wall, the boundary, where like some people would say like they'll see other people outside of themselves and say that's a reflection of me, or you're a reflection of what I'm going through, and they'll surmise or summarize that person to be like, okay, you're a reflection of something I'm supposed to learn in my journey, as opposed to like, no, this person's different and whatnot. We know that's narcissism. But then it seems like what Chief was teaching today, like there are people who are just devils. So you may not want to, say like that's a reflection of, but maybe it could be the devil inside of someone. So I just wonder like where's the boundary between like seeing everyone as a reflection of you and not falling into that narcissistic mindset versus separating yourself like, no, I'm not going to align myself with the devil. I'm not going to
Mhm.
associate myself with that. So no, that's the devil. I'm this, and being able to stand rooted in that. That's what my mind kind of thought of when I guess
Mhm.
the identity and being able to know exactly who you
Where you
are.
from? I think about, well, when you say that, it's interesting. I'm thinking about like being able to observe that, and like instead of falling into, like you said, that pattern of like, okay, well, maybe this is a reflection of me, but maybe this is just something to learn. Like I could say there was an experience of just observing, right? Like just observing. Like I think what was one of the things he talked about was like a devil being a person that's greedy. And I guess I correlate that to also like the self-absorption. And like I've been told, like, yeah, you have that too. You have that thing. And I remember having a like being somewhere and just observing, right? Like observing. There was a man who was an older white man. He was
Okay.
inside of this building. It was like a interview that had to be done, right? But we were inside of a hotel,
Okay.
and myself and another coworker, we were sitting down the hall. We were in this hallway, and we
Hmm.
were in a hotel room, and there were doors, right? People hotel rooms, and there was this man who was talking to another man, and he was so loud, right? So loud, disruptive. He just kept talking and talking. He was talking about himself. He was it was like the whole conversation. The other guy couldn't even say anything because everything was about him and what he knew, and he just knew everything. And the whole time, me and my coworker, we're saying like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like maybe this guy is not even aware of how loud he is. He's not even aware of his surroundings. Like this is a hotel room and there are people in their room and it's 9 o'clock in the morning and you're
Hmm.
this loud as if you're the only person here. And then
Yeah.
about maybe 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, people started coming outside of their doors and they just
Mm.
left. Like, and he was like, oh, I didn't know that. I guess this is a hotel room. I didn't know. And, he was just like, oh, and he kept on going, right? It was like after they left, he still kept talking loud. It was like no regards to, like, you just caused chaos, right? You just disrupted other people's peace. Maybe that family was in there, praying or something, or maybe they were just enjoying each other's company and you just caused chaos or disrupted their peace. But I that was an example that came to mind as he was sharing some of the characteristics, or you know, it was just like, but then yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's lack of consideration has always been a, a pet peeve of mine, I would say, since I was a young girl. And
Mhm.
I grew up in a house full of siblings. It was five of us up in there and two parents, so seven of us all together. And
Mhm.
we often had to be considered because we often had to share a restroom, we had to share a TV, we had to share a lot of things.
Mhm.
Food, we had to share, like we had to share everything pretty much. It was very rare that we all had something that was just ours. I was saying to maybe
Mm.
we became teenagers, that's when we started kind of like, all right, I'm gonna get this for myself. We started like wanting to have that sort of like separation where we want things to just be ours, sort of thing. But
Mhm.
So back to the main point, we often had to be considerate, and one of my pet peeves was always when someone wasn't considerate, like somebody may have jumped in the shower like before somebody else, knowing that they had to get to where they're going
Um,
a little sooner than them. So it's like you didn't have to do that, and you can tell it's like they ran to the bathroom and hurried up and closed it, and stuff like that. So I was like, so that has always been like I've always been like I notice things like that when someone is not being considerate or not looking
mhm,
at what other people may need in a moment. They just like all about they're all in their world and what they need, and that's the only thing that they're focused on. And then
mhm,
like even like having that mindset too, I noticed that those people like they don't seem to like be successful. Like things seem to
mhm.
kind of fall from because it's like I'm just trying to step over wherever I can step over to get to obtain something, but not realizing like, but yeah, but you're turning people sour, you're turning people off. So no one's gonna want to work with you when you have that sort of spirit.
Mindset.
That we
No, I
have.
agree. I agree. That's definitely a lesson that I'm going through. Uh-oh. Okay. So I agree. Peace, peace, Master Menelec.
Peace, sisters. How you doing?
Good.
Doing
How are
well.
you?
Doing all right. Enjoying a nice breezy day. The sun is gone. It's not super humid. But yeah, I was I really got a lot out of the segment today.
Mm-hmm.
And something that even Sister Sequoia just said a little while ago about being considerate, and even your example, Sister Margie, about the person who was in the hotel room just on speakerphone, you know, so that the whole hotel could hear them. And I was thinking about, you ever experienced someone who was being blatantly inconsiderate, but they tried to spin it as though you were being inconsiderate for not accommodating their inconsiderateness. So like I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm gonna come into the room and I'm going to funk up the room with a foul attitude. And if someone says, if someone looks at them, like they could already tell no one's on that vibe right now. You're bringing this messed up vibration into the room. And then they start to make it seem as though the rest of the room is inconsiderate for not sympathizing with them and asking them what's wrong. Or no one even cares of the fact that I'm obviously sad and no one's even asked me,
Uh,
everyone's just going on about their business. Like, why can't everyone, like, they're trying to make it about them. And they're like bringing confusion into the room. It's like that
mhm.
solipsism piece. Like, I'm the only thing that exists.
Yeah.
I'm the
That's what I
only thing that
thought
matters. So if the main character who they assume is them walks into the room and everyone
Mm-hmm.
who's supposed to be supporting characters is ignoring them, then that's a problem, and we need to address this now. We need to have a timeout and a powwow so that I could tell you all how disappointed I am that you're not accommodating my foolishness.
of. Yeah.
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 I can say that's definitely a lesson that I'm going through myself. So I can attest to that. Like, yes. But I think also it is like you said, like sometimes having that mindset of like, okay, what is it that other people are experiencing in this moment? Like, can you shift your mind to a space where you're like, okay, let me put myself in the other person's shoes and let me see like what is it that they're experiencing in this moment? You know what I mean? And how can I support them or what can I give to them? And I think it takes you out of that space of like the chaos. You know what I mean? And it can put you in that space of peace.
Yeah, but that's one on the list. They take, but they don't give to those who give to them.
Hmm.
So
Right.
Yeah.
you can already tell, all right, this is some devilish stuff. You walked into the room and immediately you were in taking mode, and you were actually offended
Hmm.
that people didn't automatically allow you to
Yeah.
plug into them to drain their batteries.
Yeah. I think about like separate absorption where it's like now my world is rocked, so now I'm going to turn around and blame the person that may be responding to that sort of energy.
Oh,
So
Hmm.
and,
raining. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna go off camera.
oh, no problem.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's happened many times in my life. and I was one of those persons on that end too, doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
doing that to others, it's like, oh, yeah, I did do it to someone, and I'll share like I would play those sort of games where it's like I would have an attitude, be sulking or given the silent treatment, and then when the person is not playing into that, then because like they're not playing my game or it's rocking my world in a sense, I'll go and ask like, "What's up? You haven't said anything," knowing that the reason this person probably hasn't said anything because they're tired of you, they're tired of me. That's why they haven't said anything. So that peace, Isaiah.
Peace, peace.
Peace.
Yeah, so, um, with this segment, it made me think how when we watched that movie on Wednesday, The Road to El Dorado, and we start talking about it after the movie, then Chief chimed in, and he's like, "Notice how we always put the emphasis and focus on talking about the devils and breaking down like the devils all around us, but we never talk about the divinity within each other."
Mm-hmm.
So when I kind of connected what he said on that movie night to this segment as well, like you know a lot of this information is so we could be aware of who the devils are and be able to recognize them, but not put focus on them, not feed them with our attention, our energy. So
Mm-hmm.
it just makes me think about that. I'm pretty sure we've we've all been in that situation. Like I used to ride public transportation a lot. So I would get on the bus and you got drug addicts, you got homeless people, you got drunk people, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You never know what somebody's situation is, but you always have that drunk or high, like homeless guy that's loud and like causing a scene and trying to get attention and stuff. And me, like, I never knew what their situation was. I never knew what they was going through. But I never really gave them my attention. They would try to get my attention, like talk to me. I just be doing something else. And it wasn't to be mean, it's just like I'm not in this space to feed that spirit of whatever has you lashing out. Like if you want to pull me aside, like calm yourself down, pull me aside, and like we could have
A
a
conversation.
respectable conversation, but I'm not here to feed that spirit of, oh, I just want attention. I want everybody looking at me or everybody to hear me. That also goes back to what Chief was speaking on when he was doing how to heal the inner child. You have a lot of grown children out here seeking to get what they didn't get as children. Therefore
Mm-hmm.
they're just moving as children. So it's like once you recognize that, it's like, all right, I gotta treat you as a kid, but you're grown, so I can't give you everything I give a child. Now that you're grown, that's your journey. That's for you to figure out. I could be compassionate and all that, but you're on a different level now, so I gotta treat you
Mm-hmm.
accordingly. So I just kind of combine what was said on Wednesday night and the How to Heal an Inner Child segment, and of course the past two segments on the seeds of Satan,
Mm-hmm.
and that just gave me some insight on what we were speaking to, or
Hmm.
what Chief was speaking to.
Mm.
Yeah.
Good.
Um, Thank you for sharing that because I when you were sharing, like I just was thinking about like sometimes like you'll have people who wanting to focus on their good nature. And I guess we would say like they're like wanting to step up to their greatness, like they're moving in that, they're striving. And I think in that space you are able to recognize more clearly like who is the devil and who's trying to, because they'll do things to try to destroy that, or to make it so that you're not, or that you're doubting yourself, or you're feeling insecure when you're striving in that place. And that's the way to kind of see like, okay, you're maybe one of those disruptors, or so you're trying to destroy what I'm doing. But I think that's like Chief was saying, like that's a constant thing. Like there's always going to be something that's trying to distract you, or get you off the path, and things of that nature. you know
Yeah, I'd also say to add on, Chief was talking today about certain things that only we may be able to speak to, that we're dealing with. We may have some things inside of us that only we may be aware of, and that need to sort of expunge some of those things in order to get clean. Because that's the whole message: get clean. You're walking in the dirtiness, repent, turn back, get clean. And I I I wanted to speak to like the flip side of that, where it may not be something external trying to distract you. It may be something that you've allowed to take up residence in your body, that's
Mm.
fighting against your progress, because your progress is towards getting clean, and
Mm.
it's going to seek to always introduce at least one speck of dirt, and then magnify that speck of dirt. Say, see, you ain't as clean as you thought you was. To sort of discourage you and force you to lean back into that dirtiness. So I just wanted to add that piece on as you're speaking, sister.
There was something else. As you were speaking, it was something I remembered. There was a time, I think, Koti Sequoia and myself, we were walking somewhere, and there was like a homeless man. This is based off of, like, I'm bouncing off of what Aki Isaiah was saying when he was like, do you take public transportation? And sometimes you see people who are drunk, and I remember we were walking and we saw a homeless person. I was like, oh man, I hate when I see our people like that. And I remember Koti Sequoia was saying, like, well, I'm paraphrasing, but she was like, I don't basically say everybody is my people. So it was like a recognition of, like, okay, just because you're this color or we're the same color, that we are coming from the same place, because who knows, like, what led that particular person to be in a position where they're completely homeless and literally like knocked out on the side of the road, just completely open like that. It's like, who knows what seed was already implanted in them at birth. It may not be the same that was, given to you. So you can't just identify with that person. So that was a example that came to mind as I was just listening and, yeah, reflecting. So
That's that's interesting. You bring that up. A lot of the times I'm out with my mom, and as a lot of you guys know, my mom's in her 60s, so she's from a different generation.
mhm,
And we'll see that same thing, like it may be a melanin dominant person on the side of the road with a sign and stuff, and she'll say that same thing. I hate to see our people like this. And as they're covering, I gotta step into that situation and be like, you
spot
know, yeah, I don't know if he's my people. And I'm not quick to claim him as my people.
out. Mhm,
You gotta show and prove like you one of us, you know?
mhm,
Yeah, so what you said just kind of brought, but she's from a different time, and dealing with her, and she's not the only older person I've heard say stuff like that, but it kind of, in my mind, I kind of came to this conclusion. I won't call it a conclusion because I still think on this subject, but I was like, the civil rights messed y'all up a lot. Cause since you had a bunch of melanin dominant people on one landmass going through the same struggle, you would look and be like, all right, now we in the struggle. So you my brother, you my brother. Now you got that's mass confusion. Cause you may have came from a whole different nation than me. So it's just a lot that goes into it. And back then you may have claimed a devil as your brother.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
so
think about. I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead. You're good.
I said I think about like children when they grow up in neighborhoods and like how you could be with a group of kids from your neighborhood and you all play together when you're like super young, and it's like as you go through when you're outside everybody's playing whatever, right? But when you go in your homes it's something totally different, right? Whatever your household morals and values and structures are, it's gonna show when you're playing with those other kids. But because you all come from the same neighborhood, somehow you feel like, okay, we're supposed to stay together. But then as time goes on, it seems like with life, there's like a natural separation because at each stage of your life, you start to invest in things that are either life giving or not. And so sometimes you find yourself like drifting away as you get older. You go to middle school, you drift away. As you go to high school, you drift away. And sometimes you go on to live your life. You may leave the neighborhood, go get a family, become knowledgeable about something, something else. And then you come back years later to the neighborhood, and sometimes them same childhood friends are still doing like the same thing. Maybe they were stealing out the corner store, and you was around, but you was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. But we still friends. And then as you get older, it's like, man, you still probably doing the same thing. You still in the same neighborhood. You still maybe stealing or gambling or drinking or whatever. So it's like I feel like life sometimes can, there's like a natural separation, and you can see like those two C's. Are you from the devil or are you from the Most High? You know.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
has to be. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay, Isaiah.
Oh, I was just agreeing. Go for it.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say, you're not in the same walk, and you're
Hmm.
not practicing the same culture, so it's natural for that separation to occur. And I think sometimes, like when I was growing up, there was like, I'm thinking about it now. There's certain shows where all of the characters, they had to sort of be diverse, and sometimes it was like to sell merchandise or to sell like action figures. I was thinking about Captain Planet, where all these young people were somehow, for whatever reason, bestowed with this enormous power in the form of these rings and this ability to summon this Elohim. And but the only thing they really had in common was these rings and their age group. That they didn't have no culture in common with each other. They didn't have the same um, geographic origins. Like nothing was the same. The only thing that really kept them together is they didn't like pollution. Or they whenever someone started polluting something, it's like, all right, we gotta call our deity, you know. But then I think about other stuff like, I'm just thinking about it in terms of what we're programmed with coming up. I think of other stuff like shows like Hey Arnold, which would reflect, okay, this is diversity in New
Hmm.
York, and the public school in the New York public school system, where you have all of this diversity. And again, the thing that keeps us together is we're schoolmates and we're a similar age. I think that happens a lot in terms of how we classify who's our people or who's our friends or who we should really be binding or attaching ourselves to is usually based on stuff like that. Like either we're coworkers or we're ex-classmates. We grew up in the same neighborhood. We were born with the same last name. You know, but we're not on the same walk together. So if I leave to go do something that's sacred or holy to me, I'm leaving to go do it, and you're saying, "See you later. I'll see you when you get back." You know,
Mm.
from doing what's important to you. Right there lets you know that what's important to one person isn't important to the next, and that's where you get your like your boundaries or your lines of separation. Like, okay, I love this thing, and I'm attaching myself to it. This other person doesn't love it because they're waiting for me to finish in order to re-engage with me. Like, so I love you when you're doing stuff that's not what's holy to you. I'll detach from you when you go to do it, and I'll wait for you to be done to reattach myself to you. But I ain't what you on. I ain't on. You know,
Mm.
when it comes to a point where it's like, um, I'm gonna be doing this thing in my own space, and if we live together, you're gonna be doing it with me. Oh no, 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 I can't do that. It's like, bro, you said you need a place to stay. Yeah, I need a place to stay, but I ain't doing what you're doing. I'll find someplace else. You know, I'll figure something out.
Mm.
That
So
sounds like the not wanting to well, maybe not the same thing, but not wanting to submit to the most high. I want to be the most high, but I don't want to submit, maybe in a sense. But by
it's
coming
like
to the space,
I want the benefits.
Right.
mm,
Right.
I want the benefits. Like I want a house, but I don't want to. I don't want to do any masonry work. I don't want to do any carpentry. I don't want to learn anything about electrical. But I want the house though. And if the house starts breaking down, I'll just call someone
hmm
to come fix it. But I won't learn how a house works or how to
Right.
sustain a house.
CBS says Matthew 7:13, enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. And those who I do think what
oh,
you were sharing on that, like, I was thinking about like the relationship I have with my sister. It's kind of interesting, like that natural separation has happened in a sense where it's like, okay, there was some time where I disconnected from. I was like, okay, I don't have healthy interactions with you, so I disconnected. But when we reconnected, it was kind of like there was still a natural separation because when we would talk, um, I guess she knows like there's certain conversations she can't have with me, so she won't talk to me, unless it's about like good things, which I take as like, okay, that's a really good sign. She's not comfortable talking about things that are of the world. She only wants to connect it to something she's doing that's positive, good, and so I just find that to be like, really interesting. But yeah, I thought about even with my mother, like having to like now that I've been like, talking with her and building with her, like kind of going back into history and seeing like, okay, this is where it started. I learned certain traits from my mother. So let me that I'm remembering like what it was like when she would mother and do certain things. And she it was interesting because recently she was trying to convince me to reconnect with my younger sister because we still haven't connected yet. And I was letting her know, I was like, I appreciate your perspective and I'll think about what you said. And she turned around and like the Jezebel popped out and she was like, no, do it, do it. And I was like, ooh, okay. It's been a while since I interacted with that sort of energy, but it just kind of like, it reminded me of like, oh, that's why you don't like when people are like forceful when they say like, no, do this, do that. I was like, oh, okay, I think it's stemming from from my mother, but I just thought that to be very interesting, and I just had to keep stating my boundaries. Like I said, I would think about it. Thank you for sharing. I said I would think about it, and she was like, "No, go do it, do this." And so I was like, "This is really crazy." But yeah, I just give thanks to be able to see those things and just like be able to make a decision and kind of like, all right, let me turn in the other way, or just to not get sucked into that, because it's definitely somewhere that I don't want to be. So you know, but yeah.
I
yeah.
got a question. Um, this is in reference to, I think, what Aki Isaiah had brought up earlier about us speaking to the divine. And you were talking about Sister Margie, how you and Sister Sequoia were walking together. I wonder, like, what have you learned from Sister Margie since y'all two were, um, since you two met? Like something that anything that you've learned from her.
Did you learn from me or that I've learned from her? How are we?
You could do both.
Okay.
I guess I can start. I would say one of the things I learned about Okoti Margie is that she is really, really important to her. Do the right thing. Like when she makes a mistake, she harps on it and she's like, "Oh no, I can't do that again." And she really like starts to look into like how, you know, not making that same mistake. So, and I've had to tell her like, "Hey, like sometimes like you gotta kind of take it easy. Like I get that you made a mistake, but you're kind of being a little too hard on yourself." But yeah, that's one of the things that I learned
That's
Oh
what you
man.
learned from her or about her?
about her.
Okay, what did
About
you
her.
learn from her?
Oh, you said from. Okay. Um. Hmm. I will have to think about it and come back to you.
Okay.
I was trying to speak to both of them. What I have learned about Okoti Sequoia is that she's actually very, very open. Like she doesn't think that she is, but she's open to like if she sees an opportunity to connect with someone and to really like see that person and get to know that person, like she's open to do it. And I think like sometimes she'll be like, "Oh, maybe I might have anxiety or whatever," but I'm like, "No, like you'll be fine. Like once you find your opening, like you just kind of you're kind enough to people." And to me, like that's being open in a sense because you could be cold, if you should you choose to. So to me, that's something that I have learned about Okoti Sequoia. She can be very open and kind. Now, what I have learned from Okoti Sequoia, I would say, mm, I would say I've learned that strength doesn't have to be loud. Strength doesn't have to be rambut. You know what? I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna say the word. But it doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be. It can be quiet. It doesn't have to say the most, speak the loudest, but strength can just be quiet. It can be. So that's what I would say.
Okay. I learned from Aki Isaiah that even if something is challenging you or bothering you, you still have to give it your all. You don't slow down or give in to what you think your limitations are. You do everything that's in your power to do, and at the end of it, you wind up doing more than you thought you could.
Mm-hmm.
I'd learned that because when I was over in North Carolina, we went to the gym together, and I saw him push himself. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's what I had learned from him. What I learned about him, sometimes he will make a joke if he does feel overwhelmed. Like if he's serious, he will push himself. But if he would rather not do it, sometimes he doesn't. You know.
That's accurate.
Yeah. But just in terms of rather than speaking about the negatives of what we see around us, well, what's the divine sides that we see in each other that we would want to actually build up?
Mm,
And the only reason you would recognize the devil is if you want to kill it or not.
mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, comment. She says, "If you serve the same, you would never be far from each other." Mm-hmm.
I think about like how you can be well, as he's saying that, I'm thinking about like how you can be miles away from a person, and you can still feel that connection with that person. They don't have to necessarily be next to you physically or in the room, but there's a connection that you both have. Like you said, if you're serving the same L. So
Mm.
there's like a connection in psych. Well, you're never not that far from each other just because of that connection that you have. It's kind of like, I don't know, it's interesting like how you, I don't know, maybe sometimes you can go years and years without speaking to someone, and like it could be a relative, right? Y'all, maybe y'all have the same blood, but consider if you have the same seed of the same L, right? You don't speak to that person for years, but you pick up the phone and call and say, do you know who this is? And they might pause for like a quick 5 seconds, and then they say, oh, this is Master Menelik, or this is Aki Isaiah, this is Lakoti Sequoia, this is Lakoti Margie. And it's like, you knew it was me. And it's like, well, yeah, because we're blood, or we're related. We come from the same stock or the same cloth. I could never not know your voice or know you. So even with time, we're still close. We come from the same thing. So
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Aki.
Okay. I was just gonna say, like, looking at what what Chief just said, it reminds me of that call we just had with Chief for the youth meeting, and we were talking about like a battle cry, and the battle cry reminds everybody of the mission or the goal. So it's like a reminder, and when you remember what that mission or that goal is, you fall into place. You know what time it is. It's like when I'm not an expert at sports or nothing, but like when the football team's in the huddle and then they hear the whistle blow, or they know what time it is. All right, let's get on the line. It's kind of like that. That's how I thought of it.
mm, you hear that whistle blow. It's like, just fall in line, do what you got to do.
Yeah. It'd be
Yeah,
like
he's
rambunctious on three. 1, 2, 3.
right,
Rambunctious.
right, right.
Oh man, I'm from the country, so
Ah.
sometimes those words don't be coming out right, but you get the point. Oh goodness.
I want to hear you say it. Rambunctious.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't want to hear me say that. No. I'll spell it. RAMBUNCCI. Oh man.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was like, are we closing it out?
Yeah,
Okay. I was
you.
thinking also about the language piece that Chief had brought up in terms of the Hebrew not being, the end goal, which he told us as much internally inside of Anu. Like you gotta, in order to get the Hebrew, you gotta know English properly, and then you get the Hebrew, you
Right.
get Paleo Hebrew, and then there's still Akkadian, there's still Aramaic. There's all of these different pieces to the puzzle, and that's something um, that we could speak to as a positive, as opposed to or I'm working on this, or this was really a struggle for me, or this is hard for me. You know, just speaking about I got these new words down. Like I learned 6 new words this strong. I'm that much stronger in my Hebrew, or I'm that much stronger in my mathematics. Just speaking to I'm getting um better at doing my culture or being my culture. As opposed to always saying, well, I've been struggling with this, or this one's really hard, like, which is important because we know how to support you. But it could also be, but this is what I learned, or this is what I learned. Well, have you considered this, or have you um, studied this aspect of it yet? We could build on these things as well as people who love their culture. Like like Chief was saying last night. Say, I love my culture, and it's an act of love to share it, not just with people outside, but share it with people internally as more than just an obligation. Like
Right.
we gotta hurry up and study this. The study session's coming up, y'all. We gotta have something. We gotta have something.
Right, right, right.
you know? Yeah, but
Yes.
that was like my final thoughts as you're closing out.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank everyone, you, Master Malek and Aki Isaac, jumping in and joining. Um, yeah, this was good. I'm definitely going to go back and listen because I thought it was a really good lesson. I enjoyed it. So, did anybody want to say anything else before we? Okay. All right.
Give thanks.
Yeah, give thanks.
Yeah, yeah, this was a good one. This is a good one. Toda Rabah to Master and Toda Rabah to everyone who was able to join in on the after show.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Absolutely.
All right,
Um,
Shabbat shalom.
okay. I
Peace.
just want to make one quick announcement. Tomorrow there's going to be another live that Coach Margie is going to be doing in regards to Envy, Strife, and Division. I think it's called.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
subscribe and click the notification bell so you can, catch that and you don't miss it. So yeah.
Do you know what time?
It's 4.
4. Okay.
Uno,
E-
dos, tres.
Eastern.
Got you. All right.
Yes,
Looking
yes,
forward.
Eastern time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank
Right.
you.
All right.
Peace.
Shabbat
Peace,
shalom.
peace.
All right, y'all. Shalom.
Shalom.